Talks time. How are we doing? Get on stage, Steve.
LCA, can you hear me? Yay! Welcome to the Gold Coast. Well, you're here now. This is not a fancy coding talk, so if you're really bored by this, just play on your phone. I will not be offended at all. I want to talk about young people. So when I went to university, I went to university in the 90s, 92, 96 in the UK. It was a recession. Great time to go to uni. You can just hide away from all of that crazy stuff. So when I left, I took a gap year at university and went to IBM. So I have great respect for IBM. Thanks for sponsoring this conference. And I had an awesome year, went back to uni, had an awesome year at uni, and then I did 3 years working at 3Com and did a 2-year graduate training scheme. Have we got time? Anyway, great opportunity, and I love that. It just set me up for my whole career. Fast forward 20 years, I really see there's very few opportunities, especially here on the Gold Coast, for young people to do what I did. So I am currently trying to build my team with some young people. So 2 or 3 years ago, I hired my first TAFE student. He's going really, really well. I got him for 30 days on an internship for free. He's brilliant. And then this year, in the last year, I've got 3 people who are now working for me, and 3 of them are volunteers for this conference. So give them a big round of applause. James, Tyler, and Jarman. Jarman's been on the cameras. Tyler's been here doing like an epic job of presenting today. So those guys, I love them to bits. I am really enjoying working with young people. Technology is actually not the problem. They know the tech, but they need the opportunities to actually do public speaking, get mentorship, get leadership skills. So that is what I'm spending a lot of my time on at the moment, hence getting them to volunteer. There's no timer here. What is it, Chris? No, yeah. Oh, yeah, cool. It's going down. Cool. So part of my talk today, I just wanted to encourage you, even if you have a little company, to think about employing young people and giving young people a chance, because we had all those opportunities, and we talked about this in the BOF today, the LCA BOF, about giving young people a chance and getting young people to LCA. I just want you to have a think about that, think about ways that you can do that. And yeah, we're doing a lot of work in schools, but for me personally, it's that kind of 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 ages, and we need to get people into the industry and give them really exciting opportunities rather than just boring level 1 support jobs. We want to get them doing really cool things. So I'll leave you with that. One of the things I do with my young people, I'm super transparent. I take them to meetings, I get them to volunteer at conferences like this, I get them to run meetups, and I'm really super transparent with everything I do and bring them along. So do that, engage them, get them involved in your companies, give them the skills they need to be the next LCA attendees to come to our conferences over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you very much for coming to the Gold Coast.
Thank you, Steve. Right, so before I so rudely got kicked off the stage, so normally when I start lightning talks, I explain what a lightning talk is for people who haven't seen it. You now have all seen a lightning talk. They go for 3 minutes. When we get to the end of the 3 minutes, if it looks like they're going to run off, don't count them down, but do applaud them very loudly the moment the 3 minutes is up so that we can switch between speakers very quickly. We have another 13 speakers today for you. Emma Sprinkmeyer is up on deck on this side, but first, Martin Kraft.
Lights, please. There we go. Hello, LCA. I'm going to start out with writing a message to the P2P social web. It says, hello, I'm here at the lightning talks, and if you're out there, please reply. And we're just going to publish this and hope that there's someone listening while I go and talk to you about Secure Scuttlebutt. What is it and how it works? So, hey, Caroline, what's up? Oh, yeah, I've just finished my job looking for something new. And what about you? Oh, I just, I don't know, I'm sort of like in the middle of things. Oh, cool, good to hear. And have you heard anything from Thomas lately? Oh, yeah, he did this and that and so on. That's gossip, and that's pretty much how a Secure Scuttlebutt works. It's a P2P social web. At the moment, it is actually more like a protocol underneath that can be used for other things. I'll be showing you some of them very quickly. But in essence, the idea is that if you meet someone on the LAN or through a concept called pubs, then and you find out that you have someone in common that you both know, you start gossiping about that person. And that way, information about you that you choose to publish onto the Scuttleverse is being propagated in the peer-to-peer web. This also exists for mobile, where it works across Bluetooth and ad hoc networks. And still hoping that there's going to be an update here. Let me quickly show you this wonderful logo here, the wonderful website with more information. It also has a wonderful love story video that I encourage everybody to watch if you have 10 minutes of time. The protocol guide is very nicely laid out and with a lot of nice colorful graphics, which is a little bit of an indication also of the community behind Scuttlebutt. It's a very loving community. There's absolutely no place for any sort of abuse. The people are very supportive of each other, and it's an absolute joy to be in that community. As I said, Scuttlebutt has been put to use for the social web, but also other things such as chess games, an NPM registry, Git. Git SSB is somewhere here, and it actually looks really, really nice. Basically your GitLab replacement, except P2P. And I think now that I have 35 seconds left, it is time for me to have a look if somebody on the Scuttleverse replied. Thank you so much, Matt. I did put out this call to the world and was hoping that somebody would get in, but it might actually take a little bit of time for a message to read this, the West Coast where somebody agreed to help out. So Christian, thank you for trying. I think he's watching the stream right now.
Keep going.
No, I think my time is done. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Martin. If Mike B can get up on this side of the stage so that he can present when Emma Sprinkmeyer is finished, that would be great. But first, Emma Sprinkmeyer.
Thank you. So this is just going to be quickly about my perspective of being LCA. So I've been to LCA 5 times. There was a little bit of a gap between the first and the next 4. And the next 4, of course, volunteer. And third time in a row, lightning talker. And very almost, as I said before, 18. Casual artist, avid sticker collector. I'm not exactly the most computery of persons. I'm very crafty type thing. As I'd said before, there was a little bit of a dip before, and the first one was Ballarat. And I was a very small child. And Talia dragged me into this. And of course, my dad did as well, because I needed to help him back then. And jumping back and forth, but oh well. And of course, I keep coming back because of everybody that's lovely. And I'm sorry, I'm just. When I started volunteering, I was 14, like 3 weeks off of 15, which again, 3 weeks off 18. And she dragged me in. And I felt really helpful and like I was doing something important, and people were coming to me for things that they needed, and it was like, whoa. And I had a walkie-talkie, so that was a bonus. But yeah, thank you for letting me be a part of this. And things have gone wrong this Linux.conf. I've burnt myself in 4 places. But I got quick medical attention, and it's all fine. They were very small. Found a fly in my soup the other night, which was not fun. But I got encouraged to talk to the staff, and I got my free food. And gluten-related incidents, I'm sure that some of you have heard that penguin dinner, not so much fun, but it was all sorted out, and I got this cool hospital bracelet. Thank you. Being randomly hit by a water balloon, coming back home from the PDNS, some bozo in a car just yucked a water balloon, and it was like, well then. But I got walked home, and it was nice to have people comforting me. And I'm here now. But I had Aaron glaring at me to finish this on time. And various things that I've learnt, like, again, with Aaron, how to crochet a noodlet. Is very tiny. And of course, everybody is just wonderful, and I love being here. And I couldn't read all of this because I have very few seconds. I came because of Dad, and I stayed because of all of you.
This is the third time that Emma's done a lightning talk at this conference, and really at this point you're experienced enough that you should be submitting to the CFP. Okay. Hey, on deck we have Aleks Budzynowski, but first Mike Bailey, who's going to be talking about pipe skimming.
Hi folks, I'd like to introduce you to a pattern for command line tools that can enhance the user interface. I've called it pipe skimming. It's been around for a few years in Bash My AWS, and I've made some effort to define it and extract it, and I'll give you a demo. Put simply, when text is piped to a command that implements pipe skimming, it appends the first item from each line of standard in to the argument list. It means that you can have rich lines of output and pipe it into something else that just wants the resource identifier at the start of each line. And I'll give you a demo. Okay, so what a keyboard. I've listed Amazon EC2 instances here, and I've got the instance ID at the start and some useful information about those instances after that. I've got another command that will list the auto-scaling group that instances belong to, and I could provide the instance ID to that command. So I could copy and paste or type them in, but I don't like doing that. So I'd like to just be able to pipe that previous command into instance ASG and have it do what it said before, put the instances IDs there. And so that does that. Within the project, there's lots of different connected types of resources. For an auto-scaling group, I can then pipe that into another command, which will be ASG-something. And if I want to see what commands there are, because I don't remember, tab completion, I want to do ASG capacity to see how the smallest desired and largest size that those auto-scaling groups should be. And it gives me that. So instance ASG implements this kind of with one line at the top. It just says the instance IDs are skim standard in, and then whatever arguments were given. So skim standard in is where all the magic happens. It takes what you pass it, and it'll append the first bit from each line of standard in. BMA type skim standard in. So this is the magic. And I've simplified it for this example. In Bash My AWS, it's actually 4 lines, but I wanted to make it sort of really clear. This does work, but it's using echo instead of printf, blah, blah, blah. But basically, it just outputs whatever you passed it in, all the arguments, and then if standard in is not connected to a terminal, so if you're using a pipe to pipe something in, it just gets the first item from each line and puts spaces between them. And that's the basis of it. So if you're interested in playing with something and seeing what it's like to traverse a graph of related resources from the command line in such an easy way to explore, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. That was good. I wasn't even paying attention to the timer and you all clapped. You're doing my job for me, which is great. Let's see. Evan Kohilas, if you can get on this side. But first, Aleks Budzynowski, who's going to give us some tales of hacking a device he found.
Slides.
Where did they go?
Slides.
They were on the confidence monitor just now. Has your machine gone to sleep?
That's them.
Right, hi everyone, I'm Alex, and like that, I'm here to talk about how I got a cool piece of hardware to work on Linux. This laptop, not that one, is very versatile, or should I say flexible. It doesn't have a mechanical keyboard. It's got an e-ink display that is touch sensitive. So it can, and by default is, used as a keyboard. Obviously, I wanted to install Linux on it. Obviously, the keyboard didn't work. So I thought, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to try reverse engineering it. Maybe it'll be really hard, but I'm going to suss it out, and maybe it'll be easy. So I opened Wireshark under Windows and captured USB traffic between Windows and the device. And I looked through it, and there didn't seem to be that many packets related to the keyboard. So far, so good. I wanted to continue. So I looked for patterns in the packets and formed theories and hypotheses about how the protocol might work. And that's what you do when you're reverse engineering. So to validate and play with those, I made a Wireshark plugin that sort of cut up the packets and helped me get my head around it. Then I implemented a Linux device driver, which is simpler than you think. All it did was replicate the USB packets that Windows was sending. And it couldn't be that easy, but it was. The keyboard came up, and Linux recognized it as a USB keyboard, and from that point, I could type. So I played around with it, and I went back to my Wireshark plugin. And as you can see, it turned out the protocol was a lot simpler and more sane than I initially thought. That helped me go back and add a new feature to my driver, namely the ability to put pictures on the display. Pixar, it didn't happen. And the code quality isn't great. I'm not a kernel developer, but I have chucked it on GitHub, and a couple of people have already used it. So that was fun, and I feel good contributing to the community in that way. This device can do a lot more than that, and I'd love for people to come and contribute if they like. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Alex. 3 minutes exactly. Keith Packard, you're on deck. But first, Evan, who's going to say something mildly controversial.
Okay, cool. So there are many great talks about why 2FA is great, but no. So 2FA, if you don't already know, is this concept where you need 2 factors of authentication to verify your identity. It's kind of like when you need to apply for a passport, and they need your citizenship, and your birth certificate, and your photo, and also a driver's license, which needs a photo, also a credit card and a Medicare card, and they actually all need a photo, so like what? All in an attempt to verify who you really are, so you're not doing identity fraud, which totally doesn't happen. But jokes aside, that's kind of what 2FA is, because you either got to prove that you have something that you know, like a password, something that you have, like a phone, or something that you are, like a fingerprint. And 2FA encompasses the first two by using a secret password and a one-time password from your phone to log in. So for example, if your password gets leaked, only a hacker with access to your phone can log in. And don't get me wrong, I think 2FA is great, and everyone should have it, and I even have a YubiKey, they're great, and I have them set up on my LastPass and everything, so I'm definitely like in the cool kids club. But now that I'm in, I've realized that there aren't a lot of us. And I mean, you're all cool, I promise, but it's like everywhere I go and I try to set up 2FA, there's this problem, right? Because either I can't use my YubiKey, so instead I have to use Google Authenticator, which means if something happens to my phone, I lose access to my account. And I don't even have a backup because I can't set anything else up. Or I have to use a stupid proprietary app, which I don't even have space to download, because like, why is every app 100 megabytes nowadays? And again, if something happens to my phone, and also I can't like really trust that they're not rolling their own crypto. They're like, don't roll your own crypto, or I have to use SMS, which again is flawed because it's so vulnerable, because like someone could just take out the SIM card from your phone, put it in their own phone, unless you have a SIM pin. You should all have a SIM pin. Or you could be me, and Centrelink emails you and is like, yo, please log in. There's a very important message waiting for you, but we won't tell you what it is until you log in, which is great and all, but if you don't know, Centrelink is that service that every aspiring developer needs, but also the app that every developer has nightmares about and aspires to never be. So you're like, yeah, it's not fun. And so you go online and you type in your credentials, and then it says, oh, actually we send a code to your mobile. And you look at your phone and there's no code, right? And then you realize it's because you're on a holiday on the other side of the freaking planet, and you're on a different SIM. but you persist and you don't give up and you try and change the number, but they only allow Australian numbers, so you take out your Australian PIN and you get out the little thing and you put it in, and after 5 minutes you finally get 2 texts. One from Centrelink with a code, yay, and another one from Optus that says every SMS you send or receive will cost you 50 cents. And so you put it in, but now the code's expired, and you attempt to log in again, and now you've gotten 2 more texts, and at last you get to log in, but when you press next, it logs you out because Centrelink, and now you finally logged in, and you've spent $2 trying to log into Centrelink, all for something that could have easily been evaded. But in reality, it's my fault. I can't blame them for this because their official advice is turn off 2FA when you're traveling. So developers, please enable 2FA, and when you do it, give us a choice. Don't roll it yourself. And I really hate to say this, but Centrelink, I really wish you just asked me for my mother's maiden name.
Thanks, Evan. Okay, Adam and Benno, you're on deck. If you can go around the back of the stage, that would be great. But first, Keith Packard, who's going to tell us about his hardware for some reason. He does that sometimes.
Yeah. If any of you came to my Snek talk earlier in the week, I talked about a little project we're putting together on crowd supply. I've never done a crowdsourced hardware project today, so this is a blatant advertisement for a commercial product, and I apologize for that. Okay, I built a little board because I like to play with Legos and I like to play with computers and I like to build hardware. It's got, let's see, it drives Lego Power Functions motors, it runs Snek or CircuitPython, and there's a crowd supply campaign. You can go buy these today. I'll ship them sometime in a couple of months. The board has an Atmel SAMD21618 processor, just like a lot of the other CircuitPython boards. I put a SPI flash part on it so it can actually store CircuitPython programs, so it can run CircuitPython. It runs on a single cell lithium polymer battery and generates 9 volts on the board. So it's really easy and small and lightweight, and yet it can run those huge Lego motors. Let's see, $79, and during the campaign ends March 1st. The hardware course is licensed under the Tapper Open Hardware License. I'll go look at the CERN Open Hardware License and see if I like that better before I release it. Of course, the software is all GPL v3+, and I think that's all I got. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Keith. So just waiting for Adam and Benno to get their thing on.
Screw you, Keith.
What Adam means to say is thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So William Brown is on deck. I thought I had some idea about what Adam and Benno were going to talk about, but then they removed all the vowels. I'm sure they'll tell me.
Could we have some audio, please?
Yes.
Yes.
We have audio coming out of the laptop.
Or possibly it's my fault, which is...
It's never your fault, Adam.
Oh, I know.
Get on with it.
Oh, look, it is my fault. Excellent. Okay, cool. So, we are pleased to present an enumeration of man pages representing keywords, functions, commands, and syscalls that are fun to attempt to say as single English words. Where we're going, we don't need vowels. Let's start with a category. Yeah.
on. I mean, this is 2020. We don't need these really terse identifiers anymore. Vowels are not the enemy. We've had GUIs for longer than some people in this room have been alive. Identifiers should be readable. They don't need to be short. Bytes aren't expensive anymore. We just, you know,
There was something in the air. The stars were bright.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Off. Off. All right, Leigh, you are on deck, but first, William Brown.
That was not me.
But first, William Brown.
All right, I'm here to talk to you today about the root cause of Swiss cheese. Swiss is a style of cheese from North America, which is derived from Emmental from Switzerland. It comes from cow's milk, and it's made of Streptococcus thermophilus, Lactobacillus helveticus, and Propionibacterium being added. The Streptococcus thermophilus and Lactobacillus helveticus create lactic acid, which is then consumed by the Propionibacterium, which produces acetate, propanoic acid, and carbon dioxide. This creates the distinct sweet and nutty flavour of the cheese, but also creates the iconic holes from the expanding CO2. Well, there's no one root cause here. No one factor is responsible for Swiss cheese. Many things have to come together to make this wonder of applied food chemistry. So let's talk about another type of Swiss cheese, modern hardware security. Let's find out how this cheese evolved. It starts with the PDP-11 from the PDP region of France, which has a flat memory model to the CPU with no cache. The C language was derived and developed for this system. However, Intel, wanting to make CPUs, needed to support existing C code, so they also used a flat memory model like the PDP-11 with transparent caching. CPUs that are idle waste money, so we needed to run multiple parallel applications from different users, which requires isolation between those applications for integrity, but greater performance to run more applications faster, harder, stronger. However, engineers did not want to change their programs or existing code, let alone use new CPU memory modeling, as you can just have a look at the history of Itanium, which required changes, and how that worked out for them. At the same time, physics said no and has limits that got in the way, so frequencies can only go so high. Hardware became asynchronous and out of order to improve performance, and of course asynchronous means operations are now timing variable, which has measuring effects. So we are unable to remove asynchronicity because we continue to require this performance for modern systems. It's now expected by us as engineers, businesses, and consumers. As a result, this means that we're in a situation where isolation is compromised and we can never fix it actually ever. So where was the root cause? Each one of these elements is a layer of our Swiss cheese. Layered together, the holes disappear. But if we keep rotating enough slices, the holes line up. That's when failures occur. Each layer contributes to the overall problem, but no layer alone is the cause. As engineers, we need to move beyond simply pointing at the root cause and always look at the social, economic, technical, and human layers of cheesy goodness that all build up to cause our layered systems to have failures. Because at the end of the day, there are no root causes, only contributing factors. Now I'm off to the supermarket to get some cheese.
You stole my joke.
Now you can break.
Okay, oh, guess who the next person on stage is? Colby. But first,
the universe is broken since I tested this in the break.
So,
do you want to use mine and rearrange quickly?
do you have Keynote on yours? All right. Do you have a USB drive?
Shit.
Who's got a USB drive?
I do.
Does it work on USB-C?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. All right.
Trust Benno because he's from a USB security products company.
Hey. All right. This is true. Here's cheesy.
Yeah. Where is Hugh? Oh, I didn't tell you this, but if we didn't have enough submissions, I was going to force you to have to do interpretive dance for all the spare time at the conference.
All right. Okay, do you want to get yours set up? And then where's the...
Turn off your
microphone. I thought they were going to turn it off.
Where's this music coming from? Carl! Are you up there, Ryan? Are you seeing anything at all, or is it? No, okay.
I just did that.
Hey, well, while we wait, how about we get Colby on first?
Sure.
Great, Colby.
I want to talk about goats. I promise there's a goat out there for every single person in the audience, but naturally, before I can talk about goats, I have to talk about wasps. So OWASP is a group of people, they do security stuff, they're constantly going, here are the top 10 security vulnerabilities that you should really care about. And for every person that they kind of taught about a vulnerability, 2 new people replaced them to write even more vulnerable code. So once they realized they were banging their head against the wall, they said, let's start a project. Something where we can teach people about these vulnerabilities, but do it more hands-on, where they exploit it themselves, and then they have to go back and actually fix it themselves. So that's where Webgoat comes from. Webgoat, really, really simple. You can run it as a Docker container, and it'll just run up locally. You'll be able to see a bunch of OWASP vulnerabilities in there, and it'll tell you what it is. It'll really just like hold your hand through it. And then it'll show you how to actually perform these attacks. And it'll start from something very simple, like a drop-down SQL injection form, all the way onto something a bit more complicated, and you have to feel your way out through it. And once you kind of understand the attack, then you have to go back to the web app and fix it. And in the same way, they'll hold your hand through it and go, please just finish this sample of code that we've already started writing for you, and eventually go into, it's open, go and do whatever you want. So that's kind of the 3 steps of teaching, playing and breaking, and then going back and fixing. And as I said, there's a goat for everyone. So people have forked or gone and make their own Webgoat alternative, but base it off a different language. So obviously we have Webgoat. There's also Webgoat PHP, RailsGoat, JenGoat for your Django lovers, NodeGoat, iGoat Swift, WebGoat.net, and even serverless Goat, where you run it up in AWS Lambda. So surely at least one of those things will interest you, and whether you're a pen tester or maybe just a developer, jump in, get your own Goat, and go and play with it. Thanks.
Thanks, Colby. It looks like things are working now.
Yeah, things are working.
Great. It's time for Leigh.
It's fine, trust me. So men are the worst. Many of you in this room are men, and among those, many of you will see this sentence and it will make you angry. Hopefully, when I'm done talking, this statement will make all of you angry. Bear with me here. I promise we're going somewhere with this. I'm not a man. I'm non-binary. I'm approximately feminine with some margin of error, or maybe I'm just a girl and I have to spend $100 to fix this. But I'm not here to talk about that. I spent 25 years...
David, can you get on stage, please? Sorry.
I spent 25 years trying to find my place in masculinity before realizing my place was outside, and I learned some things along the way. Masculinity is narrow. In our culture, being a man restricts your appearance, dress, careers, hobbies, sexuality, emotional literacy, emotional intimacy, platonic affection. It bars you from asking for help, from showing emotion, be it sadness or joy. It tells you you are superior if and only if you are manly. You prove you are manly enough by obeying its restrictions, and it encourages enforcing and exploiting that with mockery and violence. When men are called out on bad behavior, this is a common response. Boys will be boys. It is in the nature of men to harass, to creep, to be violent, to exclude, to treat others as lesser than them. It is innate, it is unchangeable, it can't be helped, or so it is said. If it can't be helped, then the rational solution is to lock all men up for the betterment of the society, so it's just as well that this is complete nonsense. If you're a man, this defense should insult you. It is saying you are not capable of being better. But that is not the truth. Masculinity as it is now is not innate, non-unchangeable, and not the way things must be. Men can create a new masculinity, a safer masculinity, a masculinity of fearless a masculinity of fearless love and kindness and inclusion, and concurrency if you like. Traditional masculinity is exclusively and aggressively heterosexual, so gay and bi men have excluded from it, and they suffer for that, but outside its confines, many of them has created a masculinity that is richer, more diverse, and far more interesting. Tear down those confines and you simultaneously welcome them in and let yourself out. Look to trans men. These are the words of my boyfriend discussing toxic masculinity amongst trans men, which is not my place to discuss. But in finding their way to masculinity, some trans men arrive at one that is not traditional masculinity, but that is healthier and kinder. This post says they need cis men to join them there, but cis men themselves need that space more than many of them realize. If you are cisgender, your journey is different. You can find your way to masculinity, the masculinity that culture guides you to on autopilot, but maybe you shouldn't. Trans people's journeys to our gender identities are, to an extent, conscious and deliberate out of necessity, but maybe yours should be conscious and deliberate too. There are also positive forms of traditional masculinity, men that see themselves as traditionally masculine, but that reject the gatekeeping, reject the long list of important parts of life that traditional masculinity sees as weakness, reject the idea that those unlike them are lesser, and that treat women and non-binary people and non-conforming men as equals worthy of respect. Look to some of the men in this room. All of these people exist in our community, and alongside each other and many non-men, they are making it better and kinder. Create a masculinity that is so much broader, more welcoming or inclusive than the one that we have. Create a masculinity where you can be you and where others can be themselves. So we're back where we started. Nearly done. At the moment, men are the worst, and so you should be angry because that fact is hurting you and everybody around you. But this is not immutable. You can be part of the solution, and many of you in this room already are. So treat masculinity like a campsite, or perhaps like it's a buggy legacy code base you inherited from the generations before you. Leave it better than you found it. I hope that in the past that I did, and I hope you do too. So thank you all so much. And it looks like I've made up for insulting you, so that's good. Thank you.
Could you possibly put that speech I could not understand?
So it turns out that giving lightning talks at LCA is great training for, hang on, a horse race caller? You see auctioneering. Do we have an auction at LCA? No, that stopped. Yeah. No? Great, okay. Caitlin, you are up on deck, but first, David, who's going to talk about how to fix NAT.
Yes, I'm going to talk about how to fix NAT with more NAT. I'm not a network engineer, so I might be about to make a fool of myself. You've got a laptop, it's connected to the network, that's great. You work at example.com, of course, and there's your favorite host over there at 10.1.2.3 because naturally your work is behind a NAT. So you connect your VPN and you talk to it, that's great. But of course, your VPN has to go through your home router because you're behind a NAT too, because aren't we all? Which lives at address, that's not going to work. So you reconfigure your home network and then you connect to your VPN. And then you go somewhere and you connect on your mobile, and of course your mobile's behind a NAT because carriers are like that, and it goes through example.net, your carrier, and their gateway is 10.1.2.3. What's the solution? IPv6, obviously. Okay. Suppose you have an environment inside your laptop with a virtual router with which you talk to network. It knows how to talk to the VPN, it knows how to talk to your carrier or ISP or whatever. This thing has inside it a DNS server and a packet NAT router thingy. I'm going to ignore that. You take over the 10. address space for yourself. When you SSH to host.example.com, it goes into the DNS server part. It allocates an IP address in your local space, sets up both source and destination NATs to go through them, returns that to the DNS request, and you can talk to that one. And then you do the same thing for over there, and hey presto, things work well, more or less slightly better than they do now. Obvious extensions to various things, whatnot. If I'd actually coded something, I probably would have more. Yeah.
Thanks, David. Okay, on deck we have Miles, but first, Caitlin and Glitter.
Hello everyone, my name's Caitlin. I do have a job, but this is not about my work because it's in fact about glitter, delight, and communities. My pronouns are she, her, if you ever need to use them. My handle is Katalate. So, I am really happy about glitter right now. Basically, you can buy a tin of glitter paste and you can just put it on everyone who wants it. And you can convince people that they can also put glitter on their face. It's really great. I'm not going to use this transition more than once. I really love it, but like, it was too much. Basically, glitter is related to a lot of really good things, including joy, delight, excitement, energy, and as well, just staying on everything you touch for the next 10 years. Found this product last night, less bitter, more glitter, great tagline. So here are some other things that can make you really happy and really excited. Capybara is the most excellent animal in the world. Sometimes they just bathe with mandarins at some of the zoos they are in. Lovely. Amazing cabling jobs. I can't put the link to this in the description, but if I put the slides up, that does have the correct link. This is an amazing creator called The Latest Kate. She makes excellent art, excellent mental health reminders as well. Go up and look at everything about her. I also have some stickers available if needed. Basically, so delight, joy, good feelings, endorphins. Here's more delightful geese. Honk, correct. My main point here is that I think that we should incorporate delight and joy and excitement into our community events, into our conferences, into everything we do. If possible, we should make everyone around us happy. I reckon that's a pretty good reason to be around. If possible, we should put glitter in everything we own. It's not super environmentally friendly unless you've got like really good shit. Sorry. But I've got some other really good examples of how communities have done really well in this kind of area. PyCon.au, great stickers, great curly boys. That pizza was a scratch and sniff, excellent. PurpleCon NZ runs every year attached to KawaiiCon. They had an aesthetics table each year, so they've got glitter, they've got nail polish, officially branded nail polish, and a lot of stickers. I think that we should all do that. I think that you should do that. Basically, seek out joyful things for yourself, encourage and celebrate delight in your community, allow people around you to be excited about what they're excited about. And also come and ask me for glitter, I've got a lot. I said I wouldn't use it, but I was lying, here we are. That's all, thanks.
Thank you, Caitlin. Caitlin will be somewhere over there for the rest of the conference with glitter, so track her down. On deck, we have Joel and Ben, but first, Miles with lies, damned lies, and data science.
G'day everyone, how you doing? This talk came out from me talking to a bunch of people with similar coloured hair at various things, and basically, you know, today the young people, they just don't know what it's all about. So we're missing, the core problem is basically that young people today are far too young. So, you know, you can predict all sorts of things with statistics. You don't need a GPU to do it. For example, just imagine, you know, if we wanted to predict, say, you know, where the next LCA was going to be. So where have we been in the past? You know, we started out here in Melbourne, and then we're in Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, blah, 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 blah. Almost there. There we go. Now, hang on, give me a few more clicks. Sorry, I did shoot the sheriff, but I didn't shoot the deputy. No, hang on, there we go. I didn't write this slide deck. If we animate it, you might see a pattern. Or not. But there is, you know, you can see a bit of a clustering here. I mean, what happens about above the Tropic of Capricorn? What about Darwin, Broome maybe? Everybody do, you know, Cable Beach or whatever. Broome, yes. Look at the numbers, yeah, it's a bit slim on the right there. There's a whole bunch of, you know, ones hitting. By region, yeah, it's sort of getting clustering up a bit. We're taking New Zealand as a region here. There's a clear pattern here. We like our universities, obviously. So could we make some predictions on this? If we say took the maximum difference between events and the last year of the run, and sort of add those together, what does that give us? So obviously we're going to have two of them in 2029. That'll be good fun. That's the first surprise. Yeah, SA's a bit of a, they have to hold another one there. More surprising is here we get 3 of them in the same year. And then, of course, finally we get, the ACT in 21 and New Zealand 2024. Oh, hang on. Can we just stop the clock for a bit? Like, is anybody here from Canberra? Any show of hands? I can see Adam's down here. What you doing, like, next year?
I'm normally attending an LCA, but
Oh,
I can make some time.
you could be there, all right. Hey, Jessica, I can see you over there. IT girl. What are you doing? Do you think it's a good idea? Thanks for paying attention. And Dave Tullow, I can see you over there too. You want to do it? You also have hair. Thanks for reading the script, guys.
Minutes.
Never plant your vegetables. Anyway. And sorry for ruining the lightning talks, I tried not to.
Is that all? Oh, excellent. All right. So because I did a lightning talk with an LCA announcement several years ago and it didn't end up being there. This is actually where LCA is, right? Yes. Great, so it's not in Antarctica, it's in Canberra. So that's the end. That is the end of the lightning talks.
And sorry, I'll just say one more thing. Sorry, because a bunch of the people who should have been here to do this announcement are busily dealing with the consequences of fire. That's why I'm doing this bad job of it.
Thank you, Miles. And Canberra next year. Cool. Okay, it's the end of the lightning talks, which means there's only 2 people who are standing between you and ice cream. But while they set up, I'd just like to thank the fantastic AV people at the venue here, who make it very, very easy for me to host lightning talks because they get everything set up and so you can swap quickly between things. And I tend to not show up on stage as long as I might at other conferences. Thank you to Ryan and thank you to Hugh Blemmings who helped me select the lightning talks this time yesterday. All right. Thank you all. See you next year.